That child now would dwell with God because we're not atheists. We believe in an afterlife. That child now lives with God and he's not punished, but you don't see the wisdom of God because you're not reading the scripture in its context.
Oh, come on. Okay, I'm listening. I'm listening right now. I think this is part of learning, so I'm kind of listening.
So we're just here. We're inviting you to give us the best reason why Islam is true.
So
So what would you say is the best reason why you believe Islam is true?
maybe I won't go that broad because I'm not yet fully studied, but I'll start with this, that for me, I think Muhammad is a true prophet. And maybe you let me land with few points.
Yeah, just give me
There's
one. Just give me one reason why you believe Muhammad is a true prophet, and we'll start there.
Now, I'm going to approach it from a negative aspect. I'm not going to approach it from a positive aspect. Then, when I'm approaching it from a negative aspect, then compared to the Bible, to
No,
someone that.
give us. It's okay. I just need a reason why you think Muhammad's a true prophet. We'll work from there, bro.
So, one, it talks about Moses and it talks about the prophets of God, and there is some kind of morality to what he brings. Although there's a lot of negative things that he does, and that's why I'm telling you I'm going to approach it from there. We can look at the life of David. David has also committed some of those crimes. Solomon has committed some of the sins, and
Okay, now,
I'm not trying to
pause for a second. When David committed those crimes, did God rebuke him and chasten him?
Absolutely.
When Solomon committed those crimes, did God chasten him, rebuke him?
Absolutely.
But when your prophet lusted for his adopted son's wife and then abolished adoption after marrying her, did Allah rebuke him or did Allah make that part of the divine legislation?
Allah picked it as a part of, he told him, you shouldn't be afraid to do this.
Exactly.
That he has already planned for this to happen. So
I want everyone to hear what you said. Allah already planned for Muhammad to commit adultery in his heart, lust for a married woman, and lust for his adopted son's wife, causing the divorce, to marry her and then destroy adoption. So your God decreed this, so how can it be the God of the Bible?
I'm just coming with a claim that when God decrees something, this is my claim, this is my particular claim. When God decrees something, you as a human, you have no authority to say that it's not moral. In fact, I'm just trying to say God is the one who gives morality.
Well, my basis is, I don't assume God decreed it. That's the argument, what he's giving you. Prove to us Allah is the God who decreed it, because you went to the Bible. When I look at the character of the God of the Bible, he condemns what your God had your prophet do. So they're not the same God. So why should we believe Muhammad?
I'm just trying to say that there is a particular claim that Allah is the most powerful, is the all-knowing, and is the omnipresent God. So when I'm putting that claim down,
believe Allah's omnipresent? I don't mean to cut you up, but I'm trying to see, because you believe Allah's present everywhere?
Oh, come on, like you're going to.
No, I'm asking you. What do you mean? Come on, the Salafis don't believe that. They'll sell you for a fee. They don't believe that.
Sam, let's just go with simple argument.
Maybe what you believe, because the Salafis, see again, the Salafis say Allah is present by his knowledge, but he himself is not omnipresent. Do you believe that?
No, I've just retracted my statement. I've just said that I'm not sure about the omnipresent, so I don't feel like maybe you need to go hard on me on that. But my claim is,
go ahead.
My claim is so simple that God has that power to declare the things that you perceive as wrong. He can declare them as right, because initially we know so well that morality depends on God. So you can't make a claim that one day God now decides something that you've been thinking that it's immoral. Now he turns it another day, he makes it to be moral. So then you have to be wondering like, oh, like now God has now become immoral, when you know so well he is the source of morality. So in this specific context where Sam has brought up, where the issue with Zaid and Muhammad, I'm just trying to put that concept and in that context, that day God decided that giving the wife of Zayd to Muhammad is something that was necessary. I don't know how it was necessary, but I'm very specific with the.
Listen, I want
with
everyone to hear
this.
what you said. You're admitting Allah gave a man's wife to your prophet.
That's what's written. Like it's right there. I can't deny that.
So you admit that, but then the example was, and then Jay is the one who knows logic. He can then come and put those. But I just want everyone to hear this. I'm glad you're honest enough to admit that. But the example for Muhammad doing was that, according 33:37, was so that he could set an example for other men to also marry the divorced wives of their adopted sons, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, good. You're honest. I really respect that, because I have to force myself to admit that now. But then you then know that then right afterwards, I'll abolish adoption, right?
Exactly. I know that.
Oh, good. You know this. So then what kind of example was Muhammad setting by marrying the divorced wife of his adopted son so that other people can do it when Allah knew he's going to abolish adoption?
This kind of feels like, like a long-term effect on the things, because I'm going to be very honest. I don't know what's the purpose or what's the principle that Allah is trying to play with us there about giving Zayd's wife to Muhammad. But yeah, I want you to hear me out. Like
Can I ask one more question? And I'll hear you out. Just one more question.
Okay.
One more. And I promise I'll let you out. Here's it. So Allah took a woman. Okay, Zayd was married to this woman and he was intimate with her. Now Zayd has to look to that woman as his mother, even though at one time he was intimate with her and having sex. Don't you think there's something weird with that picture? A woman that I slept with and had sex with, now she's one of the mothers of the believers, and I have to look at her as my mother. So you don't have a problem with that picture?
You do realize that I admitted that, okay, personally I don't agree with that, with the whole of that concept. Personally I don't agree with it, but I want you to hear me out. Just give me this time, hear me out a bit. Personally I don't agree with that whole concept of Zayd's wife becoming Muhammad's wife, but hear me out. My point is, God can decide one day that killing all humans on earth is moral, then he can do it. I want you to hear me from that perspective. He can decide one day that killing all humans on planet earth is moral, then he can do it. Then we have nothing against him. Although you guys can come across then say that, okay, that's not God, but we know so well that God one day can decide that. It's an open possibility. Then I'm going to tie you to the issue of David and Bathsheba. When David commits adultery with Bathsheba, God knows it's a sin, and God comes and rebukes David about it. After he rebukes David about it, there is a punishment that David faces, and that punishment is that Bathsheba gives birth and the child dies. I don't know if I'm correct on that.
Yes, 2 Samuel 12. Yeah, what about it?
Okay. So take it from this perspective. Bathsheba gives birth, the child dies. We know back then God says no child will be paying for the sin of who?
Yeah, you're going to another Ezekiel 18 to run. You're taking those out of context. So I mean, you're jumping from here and here.
I'm going to bring the argument to the issue of Zayd. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to harmonize it.
There's no moral equivalence. Let me explain why.
I'm going to harmonize it. Just let me finish.
Address your false analogy. I know you want to preach, but take it easy. It's not just preaching.
No. Let me finish the argument.
Okay.
So the point is, there is a time that God said that it's moral to not punish the child in place of the father. But today, in terms of David, God has decided.
You're misquoting. This is the third time I just told you. You're misquoting Deuteronomy 5.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Deuteronomy 24:16, and you're misapplying Ezekiel 18. So that's why I say, stop preaching. Let me correct your mistake. The mistake you're making is, so you cut me off. We're not having a conversation. Do you want to go preach to Shabir Ali? Let me address your mistake. If you read Ezekiel 18 in context, that has nothing to do with whether someone's actions can affect someone else, good or bad. In other words, if I'm a drunk driver and I smash into a car and I kill everyone in that car, They suffer because of my sin, but they're not punished for my sin. I'll be held accountable for that sin. You're confusing apples and pineapples. Now, let me come back and address why God took that child, because this is the mercy of God. I'll explain why. If that child was allowed to be lived, that would be a stigma, because everyone would know that child is the fruit of adultery. So God in his mercy could take that child in a state of grace. That child now would dwell with God, because we're not atheists. We believe in an afterlife. That child now lives with God, and he's not punished. But that child is spared the scorn and the stigma of being oppressed and being viewed as a bastard seed of an adulterous relationship. But you don't see the wisdom of God because you're not reading the scripture in its context.
Oh, come on. Okay, I'm listening. I'm listening right now. I think this is part of learning, so I'm kind of listening.
Good.
So I feel okay.
I think there's another mistake that's being made, which is that in the argument that you gave, if I understood it, about the situation of Zaid, you were likening it to God flooding the world. It's not a situation where something is moral or immoral just based on God's arbitrary decree at that moment. The reason that the world was flooded was because humans were wicked. So it's an action of justice. And in the same situation with these other cases, like when God makes these judgments, it's because of sin and wickedness. It's not that he's arbitrarily just deciding, okay, right now this is good, and then tomorrow I'm going to switch and this is going to be evil tomorrow. So good can't become evil and evil can't become good.
Okay, I'm getting that one. But you do agree with me that there's morality is tied to God, and when Muslims, us as Muslims, come across and say that, okay, you guys know that morality is tied to God. We are saying that God has declared this to be moral. We are getting our moral. We are making a claim that this moral authority, this action of moral authority, we are tying it to the most powerful God, who is Allah. So
Yeah,
I don't know if
you
you guys
believe
are
that
getting
it's just what he decrees. That's called theological voluntarism. And so Allah could decree the evil's good or that good is evil. We don't believe that. We believe that things have natures, they have qualities. God can't lie and say that good suddenly today is evil, and then in 3 years, oh, now actually I've changed my mind. Now evil is actually good. Why? Because, as Paul says, it is impossible for God to lie, because God's character dictates his actions. Because he has a holy nature, holy character, he will never do something evil or declare good to be evil. But as I understand your Quran, Allah is actually a really cunning deceiver, and he tricks people with phantasms of Jesus being, killed on the cross, but it didn't really happen. So you actually have a God who literally engages in deception and lies. We don't.
It's not the same.
Okay. But okay. That
Can you
point.
give us
Okay,
some
maybe
positive proof that
kinda
Muhammad is a
getting it.
prophet? Because we spent 20 minutes on morality. He wants an argument for why Muhammad is a prophet. Can you give us at least something so we don't talk about morality and how it can change depending on circumstances, because Allah can do what he wants? What's the proof Muhammad is a prophet? Because that's what gave
One
him.
of the- I'll just go with the kind of influence that he has. It's parallel to the kind of influence that Jesus has. So I don't know if God is just sitting down, and if Muhammad was a false prophet, I don't know if God is just sitting down and saying that, okay, this man is so powerful, is overtaking me in terms of people who are believing in him and the impact that he has. I don't know if how you guys can
So
explain
all
that.
of the people who believe in false polytheistic religions, are they also of God? Does that prove that polytheism is true? Because probably a majority of the world still believes in some kind of polytheism.
Yeah, like Hinduism, right?
I wouldn't talk for Hinduism because I don't know anything about Hinduism. But if they
But do you
brought
understand
for
the
me,
point, though? Because the point is that the argument that you made was that God wouldn't allow this influence to be there unless it was of God. And by the same token, Hinduism has duped millions, perhaps billions of people. So why isn't Hinduism true?
Yeah. Especially in India, the militant Hindus are persecuting Muslims, Christians. They seem to be dominant.
But that one is on a scale of India. So on a scale of of the whole earth, it depends. I don't know if you guys are getting my argument. My argument is,
That's an arbitrary
this
point. That's
different
why it
text.
doesn't work. It's a bad argument because it's arbitrary. So, like, what's the number by which is it? What, 2 billion? If 2 billion people believe it, then it's true and of God. 1 billion. That's the point. Is that it's arbitrary. It doesn't make any sense. It's not going to be proven by the number of people. So, what, the religion becomes true when 1 billion and one person believe it? I mean, this is a silly argument.
My friend, I think you have a good argument. Why don't you come back so others can ask questions? We appreciate you, but we've been spending on numbers and situational ethics. Working.
Would you allow me to ask one question on the Bible?
It depends. I don't know. Go ahead. It's up to the moderator.
It's up to you guys. If y'all want to continue with it, should we move on?
Go ahead.
Only one question on the Bible. Like I kind of met a contradiction, so you guys might explain to me.
Contradiction of the Bible?
Yeah. So let me just get the verse right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're keeping them?
Yeah, I let them bring it because that's all they can do is bring alleged errors of the Bible, but they don't understand this is the burial of the Janazah of Muhammad. That's why, like, this guy's talking about scribal error and Ezra. These guys don't get it, but it's tiring, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead. He's now going to maybe.
So the first one.
No, first one, we don't have 50,000. Yeah, just give me one so I can show why Muhammad is in hell.
Matthew 10:9-10.
No. Go ahead, yeah.
So, where? Matthew 10:9-10.
Yeah, no.
It's talking about, go out, don't go with a staff. Then Luke.
Oh, but then it says take a staff. Never heard that before. No. Never heard that before because
then,
number one.
9. I'm just on how you guys harmonize that.
Yeah, buddy, I know the argument before Muhammad had Jibreel descend upon him and squeeze him to the point that he thought he was going to die. This objection has already been answered. But one second, before I answer, because I just want to screen share for a minute. 1 second. I'm going to screen share. Okay, I want you to listen. Now, if the Bible has a contradiction, because this is why I don't waste time with Muslims who ask contradiction, not because we don't answer, because I'm going to show you now. Now, do me a favor, Avery. I'm going to open this up right here. Gee, I've never heard this argument before. In Jesus' commission to 12 disciples, were they or were they not to take staff? Damn, this guy caught me. He slammed me. All right, now, the answer is simple. If you look at particular Greek words used by different authors, they're not communicating the same point. If we look at the Greek terminology, it means do not take an extra staff. But I'm not here and I don't have time to unpack it. The article's there. I'm going to concede your argument. There's a contradiction. Why are you still a Muslim? Because there's two reasons I'm asking. Number one, if the Quran tells the Jews and Christians that they are nothing until they uphold the Torah and the Gospel and all the revelation given to them, Surah Al-Ma'idah 568, and we're told that the Quran confirms what is between his hands, and that's all throughout the Quran. I mean, I can give you the list. All right, just give you a few. Surah Al-Ma'idah 548. Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verse 3. You can include 4. We can go to Surah Al-Baqarah. But I've done this so many times. The only scriptures that these Christians had at the time of Muhammad, I need you to listen to me. The only scriptures that the Christians had at the time of Muhammad are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and the rest. You just told me they have contradictions. But Muhammad says that Allah commands them to uphold the gospel and all the revelation that has come to them. So if I'm a Christian, I hear Muhammad say, hey, Baldy, you a Syrian heretic, yeah? You need to follow the Torah and gospel, all the revelation that's with you. Oh, so I follow my New Testament. So Allah's telling me to follow this New Testament. You're telling me it has contradictions. So is Allah wrong and you know more than Allah?
Okay, I totally get your point, but so you admit it's a I want to make I want to.
Do you see the answer in front of your eyes, or are you blinded by the jinn?
So you admit it's a contradiction. I want just to make a name for that.
Did you hear? I just posted the article that answers the contradiction in front of your eyes, or is the jinn blinding you? It's right there on the screen. Do you see the answer? Here. Right here. Did you repeat what my answer was to you to see if you're even listening? I just said we've answered the contradiction. But I said that I'm not wasting my time answering, because if there's a contradiction, you admit Muhammad is in hell and Allah is Satan, because Allah didn't know what he's talking about. So do you admit Allah's stupid?
Actually, that's not my whole point. My whole point was to ask a question: do you recognize it as a contradiction, or is there an explanation to it?
Yes, there's right here. But I want you to say, because you're Muslim, I want you to say, I reject Islam and the Quran because the Quran is wrong about the Gospels. So then we can put that aside, and then I can answer if you sincerely want to believe the Bible. So do you agree Muhammad doesn't know what he's talking about?
I kind of feel what you're saying, but I wanted.
You agree he's wrong because he says the Bible is the uncorrupt, preserved words of God.
He's not wrong on that. He's not wrong on that. When he says
But
the
you
Bible,
just said that Matthew contradicts Mark and Luke. So wait, he's not wrong that the Bible is the Word of God, and at the same time, you just said that Bible has contradictions. So you mean Allah's okay with contradictions?
No, I didn't make an assertion. In fact, I gave those specific verses to ask you, because I feel like you know more about it, to ask you, is it a contradiction? So if it's a contradiction, then I'm going to make my claim. If it's not, I cannot make my claim.
It's not a contradiction, because if you read the article, then right here, you're going to see that the Greek words employed, ptomai, airo, different words used in the context. And when you look at how the words are used, you're going to note that a careful reading of the different Greek wording implies that the instruction means you don't take an extra staff, because the words employed will give you that interpretation as the entire article shows. Take up. But the whole point is, there's an answer. Now that you admit that the Quran confirms the Bible is the uncorrupt word of God, but the Quran contradicts the Bible. So is Muhammad wrong?
I feel like if Quran contradicts the Bible, I don't feel like it makes the Quran false, because if
the Quran tells me to follow my Bible, and that the Quran confirms my Bible, and I read Jesus as the Son of God, who died on the cross and rose again, and returned as Lord of Lords, King of Kings. The Quran denies that. So who's wrong now, the Bible or the Quran?
That's going to be so difficult to answer.
Man, I know, man. That's why you got to leave Islam. Come to Jesus.
I gotta take my time. Like, I'm really looking for information.
Okay, let me get you that article if you want the answer, because it seems like you are sincere. Now go to the private chat. Here it is. You look sincere, and I think if you keep going this way from the way you're acting, we will have you joining us in glorifying Jesus Christ, expose Muhammad, and Jay will be kind of tell you what church to go and get baptized in.
I can't say anything to that.
But keep searching, brother, because you look sincere, my brother in humanity. And it will be a matter of time you leave Islam. And when you do, let God Logic know to share your testimony.